Hey guys, welcome back to a new episode of Dev Drawer. Today we're going to be going over quickly how to install WordPress. It should be a very quick tutorial. WordPress is usually pretty easy to install. The way I'm going to show you is the way to manually do it. However, the way that we normally do it on our Linux servers is we use a wget, and then that kind of helps us just put everything in there just using the command line rather than having to download it and then all this other kind of stuff. But for today, we're just going to be going in simply how to create a WordPress installation the manual way. So the first thing you need to do is you go to WordPress.org, and in WordPress.org you would click on Get WordPress, and then this will give you the file that you need to download. To save time, I went ahead and downloaded this file and unzipped it onto my desktop, and inside of the WordPress folder on my desktop, I'm going to take all of the files that's inside of this unzipped folder and I'm going to paste it in. And once it gets done, which it's pretty close now, you can see that it's starting to populate all of the files that we need. We're at 25% right now. So while it's doing that, I also went ahead and created a WordPress.local just so I can show you this installation of WordPress. And currently we're using WAMP still, using PHP 7.3. Depending on your configuration and your server, you may do it a different way. You can do it through FTP, unzip all the files, upload it to FTP directly onto your server, or in our case, we're just using it WAMP and we're going straight to the file system. So if I refresh this page now, since our WordPress seems to be loaded, so we refresh this, it should bring us to the setup and installation. So we need to create the database and configure all the options for WordPress. Alright, so right now we don't have a database created for this, so I'm going to go ahead and log into the WAMP MySQL, which is root and no password, and it's going to be a MySQL server. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to create a database, and I'm going to call it something simple like WordPress. Alright, so now I got the table created, I got the database created, or I got the database created with no tables in it. So now I can continue with my WordPress installation. So it tells you here that you need to have database, username, password, host. That's what we just did. So the database name, I just defaulted it at WordPress. We used root with no password, and it's currently on the local host, and we can go ahead and keep the WP prefix. In a tutorial in the future, we'll show you how to go through some of the security options, and one of those options is changing this WP prefix because this is one of the most common queries that people do. So you can either change it now or you can change it in the future. So I'm just going to leave it here since this is a closed off developer server. Alright, so now we submit this. Now let's try that again. The database name is WordPress using root, the blank password, localhost, table prefix is WordPress. Okay, I think I need to put in the localhost and then 3308. Take this away again, now submit. There we go. So it's a WAMP thing. If you were on your own server, you wouldn't have to do that. Localhost usually works fine, but in this instance, WAMP was adding this port number here. So instead of just doing localhost, I was now doing localhost with the port number at the end of it. So now we're going to run the installation, and over here, you probably didn't notice it because it was quick, but it created this WP config file. This contains the information that we put in there. If you don't want to run through this installation, you can actually just take this config sample, duplicate it, and then change the information where it needs to be changed. So we're going to title this Dev Drawer Testing Suite, and I'm going to put a username of Dev Drawer, and password I'm just going to do password, and it is a weak password, so it's not something that we use. So I'm just going to confirm the use of a weak password, and then I'm going to put this at test. Let's just do test at the devdrawer.com. And while we're in development mode, we can check this box so that whenever we push it out, whether it's on a staging server or a dev server that's live on the internet, you would want to not have Google index those pages. You would only uncheck this whenever you're going straight to a production server, the one that you actually want Google to see. In this case, it wouldn't really matter whether we do it or not, because I don't believe that this actually, none of this would be indexed by Google anyway, because we're using the .local TLD. So I'm just going to leave it checked anyway. And now we're setting up WordPress, and it says that we are it's currently been installed, so we can log into it. And what was it? It was a dev drawer and password. And now we have WordPress completely set up and configured. There is a few other things that we typically do inside of our WordPress installation. Let me zoom out a little bit so y'all can see it. Okay, so first thing you want to do is you can keep these plugins if you want to. We usually remove them. There's other better ways that we find that can be done with this. And the more plugins you have, the slower your website's going to be. And then you can also notice inside of your theme appearance, inside of your themes, you have 4 themes. You never want to keep all 4 of these at all. Usually you don't want to keep any of them if you have your own theme or a theme that you paid for, or if you plan on using a free theme, because the more of these that you keep open, the less likely that they are to be updated, and eventually that'll make it where your site becomes insecure even if you're keeping your stuff up to date. So inside of the folder WP Content Themes, we are going to remove every one of them currently except for 2020. So let's right click on this, hit delete, right click on this, hit delete, and then right click on this and hit delete. Now if you don't have another theme inside of your website, leave the 2020, because if you don't, it will error out and it will let you know that there's not currently a theme for it to find. But if we refresh, now we see that we just have that one theme that remains. But if we go to the front end of the website, we can see that it's currently it's set up with a default WordPress look. It's got a sample post in it, so forth and so on. So what we're going to do is we're going to change a few things in it. So first thing we want to do is go to our settings and go to general. So we can check all of this to make sure that the date's correct. When the week starts on, you want to change your time zone to whatever time zone it falls under where you're at, because if you do anything like an event management plugin, they usually use the time that's set, and you want to make sure that that time is set to your time zone, which would be Chicago for us. So we're going to save the changes there. And then in the writing, we don't currently have any way to connect to a mail server on this WAMP installation, so we're not going to worry about this part. But on the reading, you don't want to set your latest post to be your home page. You actually want to set it to a default page, which WordPress comes with a sample page. And then you can also come in here and create a blog archives page that you can select right here. And then this is where you'd also go to uncheck that box to discourage search engines from indexing your website whenever you get ready to push it out to production. So what I'm going to do now, discussion, we have other options in here. I'm just going to leave all of these at default for now, but this controls whether or not you allow comments. You can automatically close it where after 14 days people can't comment anymore. You can set up the media dimensions that you're typically going to be using for your website. But the permalinks is another very important one. It defaults at day and name. So if you're using this as a blog or a article-based website, then this or this may be the best way for you to go. If you're using it as a website, then this would be the best way to go, because this it just creates your pages rather than having them linked out with the date timestamp on it. So let's go ahead and save this. So now we have our permalink structure updated. We can go back over here and we can see that our sample page is now the home page rather than showing the articles. And then if we come over here to our pages, we can add a new page, and we're going to call this one blog. and we're going to have the page attributes. Let's just use the default template. This is where inside of your, if you have a custom theme, you might have other options available, but I'm just going to use the default template for this. Okay, so now if we go to this, we could see the blog articles. Well, we can't see them yet. Right now, it would just come across as a blank page. So inside of our settings again, we go to reading, and now we select that blog to be our blog page, which if you look here, now it'll say blog is post pages, sample page is your front page. So now if we refresh this again, we have our regular home page, and then we have our blog page. Okay, so now let's take our sample front page, and we're going to change the template here and make it a full width template, so there is no sidebars on it. Go back to the home page. So as part of this theme, it's probably because it's built to be a WordPress blog. It has the archives as a sidebar at the bottom of it. So what we can do in order to alleviate that is to go to appearance. We can add a new theme, and this is where you would either install your own custom theme or one that you paid for, or you can do a search for this. Let's see if we can just find one that uses Bootstrap 4. So let's do this one. I've used this one before. So this is a WordPress plus Bootstrap sample theme that you can use, and we're going to go ahead and activate that one. And if you notice over here, now we have this other starter theme. So we're going to come over here and delete the 2020, because again, you never want to have multiple themes, because if you don't keep up with them, it does become a security risk for your website. Now if we refresh this, we can see that the theme is changed to the Bootstrap version of it, but we still have this sidebar navigation, which I don't want to have on the home page. So let's go back over here and see what are the kind of options that they have. So this is blank with container, without container, full width, and a left sidebar. So I'm assuming that the left sidebar is also the same as the default template. So we're going to do blank with the container, so that everything will be contained inside of a container. But now we have the just the content, but it's blank. So let's do full width instead. There we go. All right, so that left us with the header the header menu, as well as the website, the content of the page. So as you see up here, they currently don't have a menu assigned for this theme. So we're going to come over here to menus, and we're going to create a new menu called header, and we're going to create that menu. And for this one, we're going to add it as a primary menu, which means it's going to go up to the top. These menu options here could be different depending on which theme that you have. They might have footer, they might have subheader, header, whatever it is. But I know for this one, it's the primary is the header navigation. So if we have other pages that were created, we can come over here and we could check it and add it to the menu to drop it down here. But since we don't, we're just going to have these two pages on here. So I'm going to do an edit of this page, and I'm going to change this to home, just so I can distinguish it between the other ones, and it'll also update it in the navigation. So blog, home, and I'm going to go ahead and reorder that menu so that home comes first. And now we have a fully functional WordPress website that is set up to use a template provided by, it was a free template provided by WordPress Marketplace. So that is basically how you would create a new WordPress website. You can customize it however you want to, and we'll get into that in a tutorial in the future. But for now, this is just I just wanted a quick thing to show y'all how to build a WordPress website. So whenever we start getting into our tutorials about customizing themes or adding shortcodes or creating plugins, that you'll have a place that you can start off at. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and end this tutorial. It was pretty quick, very simple. I think we stayed under 15 minutes for it. But if you like this tutorial and you want to look at some of our other ones regarding PHP CRUD or object-oriented programming, definitely take a look. But like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.